everyone. So I'm going to talk about graduating Peter and the observation from that video. So I'm going to be looking at my notes here. So in the video, we saw Peter from 3rd grade up until his senior year of high school. When he started in 3rd grade, this was his first time in a gen ed classroom. Prior to that, he was only in special ed rooms just for students with disabilities. I thought it was interesting that he was the first one at his elementary school to be in a gen ed class having a severe mental disability. And I guess this was in this, that was in the 80s when this happened. When they first focused on Peter in 6th grade, I thought his speech seemed a little slurred. His lack of speech was definitely affecting him socially. He could speak in shortened sentences at this point. He really didn't have a way to express how he felt, though, so there was a bit of a disconnect there between Peter and his peers. He was impulsive by the end of 6th grade. He also was diagnosed with depression, so he started taking medication for that. By 8th grade, he was training for a job as a janitor. His aide was working on him as far as things like eye contact, and I thought that was a good skill for Peter to work on. I think part of being in school is learning how to socialize and make friends. And since Peter was in a class with only students with special needs until 3rd grade, I feel like he missed out on this and it made him fall further behind socially. So I think back, like things like preschool, kindergarten, 1st grade, like you're working on foundational skills and things like sharing, how to be a friend, like manners, things like that. Talking about how you're feeling. I just think because I don't know what his special ed classes looked like, but I just think if he would have had more exposure being in the gen ed classroom, I think things could have been different for Peter. By 9th grade, he still doesn't have many friends. He only had one academic class. He worked doing in-school laundry. His mom was pretty disappointed with his spoken language development by this point. In his sophomore year, he's 18 years old. His parents want his socialization to be increased. He can't really do many daily tasks on his own without supervision, for example, tying his shoes. In his junior year, they're focusing more on job skills. They showed him counting money. I thought this was a very good thing for him to work on. I also thought the student club to bring other students together with students with special needs was an awesome idea. They went on a trip to an amusement park. So it also showed him as the team manager for the boys varsity soccer team. He seemed to do better once he took on this role. I thought it was great for him and for the team members. Like, it was a good experience for everyone. I also thought his life skills class seemed helpful, and I thought that would be something good for pretty much anyone in high school. I think with Peter, a big thing was his lack of socialization from the start that seemed to hold him back. I thought to myself, if he would have been a child in school today, how differently things may have turned out for Peter later on. When he went to that group his teacher started, it kind of made me sad that there was nothing like that already existing in the community where he lived. And today there's just a lot more resources for families of children with disabilities. And I think it just helps everybody all around the family. They can talk to other parents of students with disabilities. The kids get to socialize together. It helps them all around. And it just made me kind of sad that like in the 80s, like it didn't really, maybe there were in the community, but it didn't really show anything like that. So it made Peter a little bit behind. I had a student in my class, in my 2nd grade class a couple years ago with Down syndrome, and a lot of the students had class with her from kindergarten on. She had an aide with her. She would leave the class to go to speech, OT, resource room, but she did spend a lot of time in our class, and I think it was good for both her and the rest of the kids in the class. And I'm looking at her name was Aubrey. I'm looking at Aubrey compared to Peter, since he didn't go into gen ed classes till 3rd grade. Like, I think Aubrey was a lot better off socially and things like that. And it's just crazy to think that, like, had I been a teacher during Peter's time, like, I maybe never would have had a student like Aubrey in my class. Overall, I don't think we saw enough about what he worked on in speech to know what could have been done differently. I did notice that Peter's mom said in the documentary that he never really did things socially with other people his age. And once his older siblings were not at the house, he was only with his parents outside of school. So again, back to that group that he joined. And when he became the manager for the boys' soccer team, I just think he seemed to be like thriving then. Like he was so much happy. He was a lot happier. You could just tell the other students seemed to be happy with him around. So yeah, I don't think that I saw enough of his speech to know what could have been done differently. But for me, I think that him not going into a gen ed class until he was in 3rd grade, I think that was the mistake from the beginning. And then I'm looking back at my notes. I thought his mom said that he could not hear for the first year of his life, and they didn't find out about that until later. So I think that probably put him behind on top of everything. So yeah, those are my thoughts on graduating Peter. Look forward to hearing yours.